Good evening, everybody, and welcome to week 4 in CE 155, Facility Layout and Design. Chef Suzanne and I welcome you to another fine live session. And we have a great week planned out for everybody. Chef Suzanne and I are awfully proud of this class. We think you guys are doing absolutely fantastic so far, and encourage you now that we are in the second half of this class officially to keep up the good work and finish strong, because a lot of the stuff you're learning in this class, whether you plan on opening a restaurant or whether you just plan on being a part of a team, you will utilize this information at some point in time in your career, and you're going to remember Chef Suzanne and I at some point in time down the road saying something squirrely. So make sure that you remember what we've talked about. How did everybody enjoy week 3? Thumbs up. Elaine, what did you like about it?
Okay, I think I liked it. The fact that I got to go in and actually figure out the color scheme and all that I wanted in the front of the house. It was something I had never thought about until last week. And so as I was going through the internet looking at pictures of the other places that have the same thing, I was like, holy crap. Yeah. Wow, I can do this. I was having a hard time just picking just a small little few. I loved it. It was great.
It's really interesting. I think a lot of us involved in this industry are fairly creative people, and we develop a lot of things in our head, almost visionary like. And once we get it out on paper, it completely changes the form of that whole thing. Thanks, Elaine. Sparkle Chef, what do you got going on?
Hi.
Hi.
Yeah, you're right about being diverse. So much diversity as being a chef. I didn't realize I was going to be an architect too, with designing and laying out the format. It was kind of, for me, kind of challenging because of the style of my restaurant and my kitchen. What I'm going to work this week. This kitchen, the back of the house, but it's at an angle, so it's not like square or rectangle. So it's going to be moving things differently. And then, like, I don't want to say it, but the dog ate my homework. I had it all laid out really nice, and somehow it just poofed. It just vanished. My first try, and I had it how I really wanted it. So I had a photo of it, and I sent it to Chef Suzanne. And then I had to redo it again, but in a simpler way. So I don't know about that.
Yeah, it's so cool. This is I remember my first restaurant. It was rather generic in nature, but this whole thing is like, it's like an artist's life. It's a situation of evolution. And when you guys do go out and do your first facility or make your first suggestions on how to rearrange a facility, you're going to find that over the years that your style and your thought process is going to greatly change in this industry. So my recommendation, and I'm sure Chef Suzanne has the same thing, remain open-minded. And there's not one way to do this. It's going to be your interpretation down the road that's going to be successful. So
yeah, and I think this layout, it's still a work in process to me. I'm not satisfied with my layout for the front of the house. I still want to tweak it and work on it. And like I said, it's going to be a work in process.
I'll give you a word of advice from an old dog. You will not know the layout in your front of the house until your opening day, right? Your first customers come in there, you'll know exactly what it's going to look like. And you mentioned that you didn't know you were going to have to be an architect too, but that there's a few other surprises in store. You're also going to be a plumber, an electrician, sanitation, transfer technician. I've changed tires in parking lots for guests. I mean, there's like no end. If I put everything I do on a business card, I'd have to have an 8.5 by 14 sheet. So good attitude. I mean, it's just, that's the way we roll. Let's Derek, what's going on, buddy? Derek Gator.
Yeah, how you doing?
Good. How you doing?
I'm all right. Man, I was really lost this assignment. You were right about the phone thing. more difficult than I realized. My last phone, I could do it on. This iPhone is just totally not working. I found a library, but it's a historic library. They have set hours, and they only want you on the computer 20 minutes at a time. So I made arrangements to go back and redo the assignment week 3. So I have to make it up. But I was totally lost. I didn't get to the color scheme. I seen the slides and everything, but the mood board, I couldn't find it. I was so lost on the website.
Oh, well, thanks for hanging in there and toughing it out. It's only going to benefit you in the long run. Yeah. So good job. Hey, Archie Smith.
Hey, what's going on, Chef?
Evan, how you doing, man?
I'm making it. It was crazy because, it's like my dream restaurant, and I do a lot of outdoor cooking. So I make my own barbecue pits, and I wanted to have that as kind of like the focal point. So it'd be like I guess like a sports bar, but more like a fusion and sandwich shop. So you're kind of walking in and going to the sides, and you see the cafeteria type setup where you could say, I want this kind of meat, this sandwich, this, and then you take your little number and you go sit down, and then you see the pits, and you see, you got the bar and the TV's up there, and it was just so much in my brain that once I started trying to click that stuff down, it was like, oh my God. So it worked out though. It took a while. But now
I saw one of those, something similar to what you're talking about down in Mexico, where they have a little bit looser building restrictions. And they actually did the pit in the center of the restaurant. And then they had it surrounded by glass. And then huge hood vents above it. And so as you were eating, you were watching them, pull the brisket out or pull whatever out. And then you could also walk up to the counter, and they would, it was a big circle. And then you could walk around and just, ask for ingredients, and they would pass it through to you. So it was kind of a cool concept.
Yeah. I got it. I thought about it myself, and then I looked up Weber Grill Company and their restaurants. They actually have a few restaurants already like that, where they use their big grills kind of to the side, but they have the huge fans over the front of them and over the top and everything. So, it could happen.
I think Weber has one restaurant that is all Webers. And you go in and you order your protein, and you go to your Weber and you cook it. And
wow.
It's kind of an interesting concept. So anybody else? What about Sandra? I want to hear from Sandra. Where's Sandra 6? Where are you at, Sandra?
Hey, Dan.
Hi.
Jeff.
How are you?
I'm doing better.
Good.
I didn't get my homework done.
You've changed your surroundings. That's better. You've changed your surroundings. Yes.
Yeah, I'm not in the hospital.
That's good.
I was in there too long. I tried to do some of that stuff on my little Chromebook, and if I had a mouse, it probably would have been easier, but I just having so much issues. And so I was trying to work on it today at home, and I don't seem like I have an idea what's going on. I guess I just got to figure out how I'm going to do this homework, for the back of the house. I mean, the front of the house. Now I still got to do the back of the house. I don't know.
If you want to reach out and give me if you want to give me a call tomorrow, I'll be glad to help you out, and we'll come up with a good solution for you. Does that work?
Okay.
Sound good?
Too much medication kind of had me foggy for a while, I guess.
Oh yeah, I know that feeling. I'm foggy all the time without medication, so I can't imagine with medication. That'd be rough. And then how did and just going back to touch on the mood board real quick with everybody. It's so interesting to see everything that comes out of your brain and end up on paper, and what we think about and what is reality are often two different things, and that's the hard part that we struggle with. And then some of you sound like you have some great ideas working. The Sparkling Chef there had some great things that she touched on, and Archie with his barbecue pit and all this. But once you get it out on paper, and then once you put a pencil to those items, that's going to be another big shock down the road when you realize what you want and what you can get are two completely different things. So, Joshua was talking earlier, he's taking a look at growing his little empire, and, restaurant financing can be a real challenge right off the bat. And that's why so many of us end up going the conservative route. You know, we look for the off-brand of Weber versus the actual Weber. And that's one of the reasons why. Chef Suzanne Lasagna, my favorite evaluator.
Had to unmute me. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, yeah. How's your perspective on week 3?
This is, I mean, I don't want to make it sound like there's nothing good to come, but this is my favorite week. I enjoy week 3 so much because in the case of most of everyone here, I have seen your menus. I've kind of seen this growing now for a couple of blocks. I've seen your concept summary and I see your layout, but what really is just, to me, the icing on the cake is your mood boards. Oh, I just love mood boards. It's like I get a little peek in your brains, and I love that, to see what your vision is. And this, you know, this did not disappoint. The layouts were great. Like I said, I love the mood boards, to see where your inspiration comes from, whether it's a food truck paint design, whether it's the lamps you want to hang over the table. I just find it amazing. And I think I haven't seen, well, it's scary what's in Sandra's brain. Sorry, Bill. Sorry, I'm glad I got to peek in everybody's brains, because I love to, it's not really real for me until I see those. And then it really, I can envision what you see. And I love that. That's my favorite part.
Yeah.
The kitchen's fun, but the mood board is that peek into what your dream is that I can see. And I love that. So thank you all for sharing that with me.
That's a really cool perspective. I like that a lot. That's that is a really inspirational thing. And I highly urge all of you out there to really hold on tight to this project. As your career grows, you're going to look back at your mood board, and you're going to look back at your kitchen design in 10 years or so, and you're going to say, what the hell was I thinking? You know, because it's going to grow and it's going to change. And I hear a lot of creative ideas, and I've seen a lot of very creative assignments so far. I cannot wait to see where you guys are at 10 years from now. That's going to be some amazing stuff coming out right now. If where you're at today is an indication as where you're going to be at tomorrow, I want to go on that bus, because it's going to be a pretty exciting journey for everyone out there. Moving on, anything else about week 3, Chef Suzanne?
I just really just amazed at the work and the culmination. And I don't know, I actually sent some to Chef this week, because there was just such good ones this week that I just felt like he needed to see them. So yeah, just wanted to share that. And I don't always do that. I don't always send stuff to the instructors so that they can see it, but sometimes they're they're just too good. I got to share, because he doesn't get to look at maybe every single one. I mean, maybe he does, I don't know, but I want him to see what I see. So
I look at a lot of them, and this week I believe it was Wednesday or Thursday, Chef Suzanne, or Tuesday or Wednesday, Chef Suzanne sent me a message saying, you got to take a look at these people's work. And that's really encouraging when you're getting another chef instructor that excited about what's going on. So I think that is fantastic. So hats off to everybody. Great job. And anything else, Chef Suzanne?
No, I'm good. I'm
You're
just
good?
I'm wired for sound. I'm super excited. I'm ready. Let's do this.
All right, let's do this. Let's get the show on the road here, people. We are moving on to week 4, and we are going to design the heart of the house, the back of the house, BOH, the kitchen. And this is probably the least creative you have to have the most creativity. I know that sounds a little bit strange. It's the least creative that requires the most amount of creativity to make function and make efficient at the same time. It requires a little bit more of a black and white mentality, a little bit more of an engineer type sense, because you have a lot of little things that need to get into this space, and they need to be placed in a very effective, efficient manner in order for you to be able to operate, right? So it's not like the front of the house where you can say that big chair looks fantastic in the corner in the foyer. It doesn't work that way when it comes to designing the back of the house. Every single inch has a specific design and purpose and must be well thought out. We talked a couple weeks ago about how much it costs. What is it, $275 a square foot to design a kitchen? And then you have a lot of additional expenses beyond that, which include, plumbing and floors and all these other types of things. If you don't think it through, very effectively, you're going to lose a lot of money on some bad thoughts. So let's make sure that we pay close attention to this one. Let's take a look at our class page, everybody, for week 4. Hopefully everybody got to see this lovely video here at the top, which shares tricks and tips to help you get through your week. And then we have research materials. They're great this week. Talks all about the back of the house. And then thank you very much for those of you that attended our week 4 live session. And if you don't, make sure you watch the live session archive. And then we do have an example this week that is located on the class page. It's right down here at the bottom. That will help you out quite a bit with your actual assignment to help you kind of visualize it. And then we also have our week 4 kitchen layout, which is our assignment. So moving forward, right? Before you actually start designing your kitchen, you have to have your concept clearly defined. You should have your menus written out. You need to know what you're preparing, right? You don't design your kitchen and then decide that, hey, I'm going to have a barbecue place after you spend all your money on convection ovens. It doesn't make any sense. So everything has to be thought through step by step. You have to have your concept. You have to have your menus. You should have a lot of your operational procedures done. You should have an idea of the size of your kitchen staff. How many workspaces do I have to accommodate? Do I have a large enough kitchen staff that I have to have an employee restroom in the back of the house? A lot of little details like this. We've talked about this a bunch, and one of the biggest considerations that we have is footsteps, right? We all want a big kitchen. I used to run a 3,000 square foot kitchen when I was my first executive chef position many years ago, and I was a young lad. I thought the kitchen was fantastic. The bigger the kitchen, the larger the expenses, right? The more money you have to spend cleaning, the more money you have to spend lighting, gas, air conditioning, heating, all those things come into play. So you want to have, the right size facility for you. Don't go obnoxious size. It needs to be as small as you can operate comfortably in, which is really, really important. Another factor that you need to take into consideration when you design your restaurant is your operational flow. Critical. Operational flow is going to be defined as people coming in and out of the kitchen. Do you have a space that the servers can comfortably go in and comfortably go out without interfering with what the cooks are doing? Critical. Can your dishwasher put away clean dishes without interrupting the flow of the work in the kitchen, right? Can your delivery man come in the back door and unload his stock into your walk-in without tripping over the dishwasher and the servers, right? So it's almost like designing a city, right? You have to have your main arteries going around the outside of the city. You have to have your small streets with appropriate places to stop. So these are the operational flow aspects that you really need to be focused on and paying attention. Accessibility is another big issue as well. Accessibility being defined as can people get in and out easily, right? Do you have a loading dock that is placed in the appropriate spot? You do not want to put the back door to your kitchen in the middle of your dish pit. It doesn't work very well. You need to have a clear and concise space near your storage areas, so when you're receiving deliveries, the delivery man has clear and easy access to that space. So everything has to be thought through as you are actually delivering it. What I do when I am designing a kitchen or laying out a kitchen, I will theoretically put everything that I want and wherever I think it should go. And then I think to myself, and I mentally get in the position of a dishwasher and I say, can I do my job without interfering with everybody? Then I think as though I'm a delivery man. Can I get in and out, right? Then I think as a line cook, do I have easy access to my mise en place? Do I have to walk a half mile to the walk-in to get what I need, right? So you have to literally put yourself in the mind frame of these operational people in there that they can do their jobs. and that'll give you a good indication as what's going on.
Chef, I actually want to, I'm really glad you brought that up. I actually saw that comment about, was it week 2, we had to do location. And I know multiple students in their disadvantages put down that the loading area was not in a good spot, or in some cases there was no back area. So orders would have to come in through the front. So I think that we've got some students that are already thinking that way, which I think is wonderful to have put that as well, to recognize what a serious disadvantage that would be to certain locations, especially in like downtown areas or like older buildings. I know that I saw those kind of comments about accessibility for vendors.
That's an awesome point. So, you guys are already in the right frame of mind, the way that you're thinking. You just need to carry it to the 10th degree now. As far as accessibility issues and these other things. Something else that you really need to talk a lot about, or think a lot about, and we've already touched on this, is your cost of utilities. Cost of utilities in the United States, the average cost of utilities for a restaurant runs about $3.75 per square foot per month. And if you, not per month, but yeah, per month. But if you have 1,000 square foot restaurant, right, or 1,000 square foot kitchen, and you're paying $3.75 a square foot for utilities, that's going to be $3,750 per month in utility bills, right? That's a lot of money. How many hamburgers are you going to have to sell to pay for your utility bill? So, as big as we want our kitchens, they're expensive, and that's why you do see a lot of smaller kitchens that need to be laid out and designed operationally and accessibility-wise very efficiently. So does that kind of drive home the point to make it? Does anybody have any questions so far? Chef Suzanne, did I miss anything else?
I do not believe so. We do have a couple of hands up.
Oh, cool. Timothy Wilson. What's going on, Timothy?
Well, yes, Chef. He was talking about utilities and everything. I don't know how it works everywhere. I've been stuck in Alabama most of my life, but a lot of the restaurants around here, especially your corporate restaurants, they're basically on a contract per se. Like their water bill and their electric bill never change. It's a set amount per month. Like a normal standard, or?
We call that budget billing. And environments such as Tucson, Arizona, where I live, we have extremes in weather, right? Our heat gets very, very high during the summer. So that means that we have very high utility bills during that month. And what they do is they amortize the cost, the annual cost of your electric. They'll amortize that over a 12-month period to spread your bill out. So you're paying the same amount on a monthly basis. What that does is it becomes a fixed expense, and it makes it a lot easier for you to budget in the long run. Utilities, though, for restaurants can often be in a higher bracket than what they are in the residential bracket. So you're paying more per kilowatt or more per BTU for gas. So you need to be very conscientious about that. That's a great point, though, Timothy. Sparkle Chef, what's up?
Hi. What was the square footage for the back of the house? You said, what was the cost per square foot?
It runs the average in the United States. I think you're in Hawaii. Am I correct? So
yeah, we're like
yeah, and I think it's a little bit more elevated there. But the average cost in the United States is $3.75 per square foot for utilities.
Yeah, but what about when you're building your kitchen? What was your square footage for that?
That comes out with equipment and some moderations. That comes out to about $2.75 a square foot. But that doesn't include hard work like electric and plumbing.
Oh, just the equipment and stuff.
Equipment, tables, some flooring aspects, any type of build out, moving walls and that type of stuff. Some of the minor remodeling aspects. But when it comes to the hard stuff, it becomes it's a lot more expensive.
Okay, and going back to the utilities part, because my whole premise is a farm to table experience and you're eating on the farm. And we're working on a project about sustainability through solar panels, wind panels, just like you're building your own power station right on property on the farm. Do you know any like modern technologies that saves energy when it comes to equipment and things for modern commercial kitchens and stuff?
They are beginning to come to the surface. The restaurant industry as a whole has been very, very slow to react to things like technology, communications, internet services. We always seem to run much farther behind than other industries in that area. Some of the more modern things that are coming out are some of the electrical pieces that we're using, such as microwaves or Rational ovens that require a lot of electricity. Some of the steam generation products that we utilize for steam kettles and that type of stuff are becoming much more efficient in their operational standards. But there's been no major breakthrough so far that I'm aware of.
Like in energy costs and energy saving. But the microwave you're talking about the ones they use in Starbucks now, the ones that's really fast?
I think Starbucks, they have like a combi type microwave that circulates heat and uses microwave energy at the same time. The thing that I found best to control utilities in a restaurant is for you to actually manage your utilities, right? So, you know, try to schedule your heavy prep work that requires your convection ovens and your kettles and everything else. You know, schedule them to be used for 3 hours a day versus a traditional restaurant that will keep them on for 16 hours a day. So there are measures that you can take through operational efficiency to reduce your electrical cost.
It's like at home, yeah? Turn off the lights, yeah?
Yeah, turn off the lights and you're done. And a lot of us in the industry aren't used to that. Isn't that right, Chef?
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We like to turn it on and leave it on. Yeah.
Yep.
So going back to your kitchen design a little bit more, there are people that you do not want in your kitchen that work at your restaurant, right? And some of those people would include waitresses and busboys and hostesses and that type of stuff. And it's not that you dislike
Owners.
Yeah. It's not that you dislike them. It's that they block your operational flow. If you, there are certain parts of a kitchen that are called no man's land, such as behind the line. Isn't that right, Chef Suzanne? Yeah.
Oh yes, there's nothing that'll get a server in more trouble than being behind the line.
Yeah, you kick them out as quickly as you can. And what that equates to is you have to design your kitchen that allows them an area to easily come into the kitchen, pick up the food, and get out. You have to design an area for them where they can get their ice, they can access their POS materials, and they can also drop off their dirty dishes and glassware and that type of thing. They as well need to have an area where they can collect clean dishware, silverware, etc. So as you're designing your kitchen, do not put the dish pit in the back corner. Dish pits are traditionally located very close to the entrance to the restaurant. This way the servers don't have to walk through the kitchen to get what they need. They can just easily access it. The expo line where the food comes up for the customer is generally located near the entrance to the kitchen, so the servers can walk right in and pick it up. Ice machines, traditionally there's a small service area right inside the kitchen door with ice machine, coffee equipment. Servers can walk in, take care of their business, and get out. So make sure you're very conscientious of that. Lighting, luminaries are a major concern in kitchens. A lot of people try to cut utility costs by having less lighting in a kitchen, which not only creates a dangerous environment, but it does not illuminate your walls, your floors, and your ceilings and equipment enough to see that they're clean. You want to have a very well-lit kitchen, which identifies your areas of sanitation needs. It also illuminates your floors properly so you can prevent slips and falls when the cooks are working. And you will also find that when you have a very dimly lit environment, people have a tendency to be a lot more relaxed and chill in the kitchen environment. You don't want that. You want people wide awake on their feet, rock and rolling. So a well-lit kitchen. And then kitchens also require shatterproof covers or shatterproof bulbs, because if a light bulb breaks in the kitchen, then you have to replace the food underneath the light bulb because the glass shatters into that. Very, very important. Plumbing when you're designing your kitchen is a big, big challenge. A lot of the laws are pretty much consistent across the United States as far as this. You need to make sure you thoroughly plan out this in your head, because once you have your plumbing built into your restaurant, it's pretty much going to stay there. For example, triple sinks, right? That drain heavy grease, etc., are required to have an air gap. And what that means is the plumbing comes right down from underneath the sink. And then there's a 6-inch clearance before the actual drain, right? That's in case it gets backed up. The water will not flow back in to the sink where you could be potentially sanitizing dishes and things like that. Same thing with prep sinks where you're thawing chicken out or you're washing lettuce. Those sinks have to have an air gap underneath them, which require a much larger drain. So be very conscientious of that. Not all things like in your houses, all of your pipes are plumbed right into your wall. We don't do that in the restaurant business. We can't, because if there's any type of backflow, then that water will get back into its original source and potentially poison or add bacteria to your food source. So bad. Be very, very conscientious of that. If you are working with a plumbing contractor, make sure that you work with a plumbing contractor that has a lot of restaurant experience and is up to date on the codes. I have my second restaurant. I thought I was up to date on the codes until we got our first inspection, and it was an expensive lesson to learn. So pay very close attention to that. What about bathrooms? Are those important in the kitchen? Yeah, they're hugely important. And I'm a big proponent of having them. Number one, you don't want your dirty, line chef that's got, blood from butchering and grease from sauteing and, stained pants and a dirty apron walking across your fine dining room to use the restroom. It's just not a good appeal. Or your dishwasher, whatever the case is, trotting across the dining room to use the restroom. So we like to put restrooms in there. And we also like to provide in the modern kitchen a place for employees or staff members to change their clothes, store their purses. So employee storage is a pretty important thing. Bill, what you got, man?
You're talking about restrooms for the employees. I jokingly said porta-johns, but and you have one for male and female and, unknown, or can you just
we're not quite, yeah. No, you don't have to have 3 restrooms, not quite yet in the restaurant industry. Like I said, we have a tendency to move into certain issues a little slower than other people or other industries. So depending on the size of your staff and, the breakdown of your staff, that will help you make your decision.
Okay.
So I was doing my externship at a very fine dining French restaurant, and I went to ask the chef on my first night there. He was French, and he was a gnarly little guy. And I said, "Chef, I really need to use the restroom. Where are the restrooms at?" And he looked at me and he said, "People like yourself use the restroom outside in the parking lot." So, that was a while ago. So the restaurant has evolved. The business has evolved a little bit since then. But I think it's very, very important that we do provide ample facilities for our staff members. A lot of them travel on the bus and they've got bags and stuff, and you don't want that laying around your restaurant. It collects dirt, dust, and it does not set a good image. So you need to provide some lockers and proper storage area for them. It's very, very important. HVAC, heating, ventilation, and air conditioning is a critical issue in a kitchen. Kitchen is a very hot environment. A lot of kitchens are still on swamp cooler systems because we have our hood systems that are evacuating the air right, from all of our smoke and our grease, pulling the air out of the kitchen. And you have to put that air back in to the kitchen, otherwise it pulls it from the dining room. So a lot of kitchens are still on swamp coolers because it's a lot more of a cost-effective way to do it. But if you're in a humid environment such as Hawaii or something like that, you want to really consider going with air conditioning. You'll have a much happier staff in the long run. I worked in one kitchen in Tucson, in Phoenix, Arizona, that was about 140 degrees during the summertime, and it was a rough experience. So you make sure you want to stay away from that. As you're working on your diagram this week, make sure that you pay close attention to your equipment and its spacing. Chef Suzanne likes to maintain a very clean kitchen environment. So make sure that your equipment is movable and cleanable in between the equipment, behind the equipment, and that type of thing. Sparkling Chef, what's going on?
No, I wanted to comment about the vac, the air conditioning in the kitchen.
HVAC?
And yeah, it's so necessary. It's already hot in the kitchen, especially by the salamander, man. It's hot by the salamander, especially if you get two salamanders going at the same time and you're trying to expo in the back, getting your starches and your veggie plates together. But then those air conditions, when you move, when you got the AC, it's more bearable, But if you didn't have that AC, you'd be dying in the kitchen.
Yeah. It's kind of interesting, this whole subject, and I'm sure, Chef Suzanne has some a perspective on this, but for years, the restaurant industry was not very kind to its staff members as far as reasonable accommodations, what we consider to be reasonable, such as floor mats to make our feet more comfortable, air conditioning, restrooms to use, proper storage, feeding staff members, certain benefits that most of us take for granted. The restaurant industry is now moving towards a trend that, we really care for our staff members and we're going to really take care of them. So I'm sure this class and the classes behind it will be a part of that movement as things move forward. Isn't that right, Chef Suzanne?
You are correct as usual, Chef.
Yeah. I'm sure you can relate to not being very, your actual employer not accommodating your needs very, very well.
Oh, yes. Yes.
And you're mentioning all this being kind to your employees, and I kind of see that firsthand where I work, because everything that you're mentioning about the bathrooms, where the loading dock is, it's all really applied in Roy's, Roy Yamaguchi, how he laid it out. And every time you're talking, it's like, that's what I want to design my kitchen style, because it's all open, transparent, the kitchen. So when you look from the freeway, from the golf course, you're looking back at his restaurant, the lightest and the brightest place in the whole restaurant is the kitchen. And then you see all the employees and all us behind there, behind the line. And then you see the dim dining area.
Yeah.
But everything you're saying is exactly in play, and it works for him, for his restaurant.
And it's kind of where we're going as an industry, and which I'm so excited to see, because I think we need a big upgrade. But these are all things that I hope that you guys institute into your restaurants when you get down the road. Moving back down the list, flooring is a big issue in the kitchen. We talked about that during week 1 or maybe week 2. Flooring surfaces in the kitchen are exposed to a lot of grease, to a lot of moisture. They become very, very slippery. We don't want any of our staff members getting hurt. Not only does it cause a lot of pain for them, but it causes loss of work, loss of income, and it becomes very, very expensive for us as well, dealing with medical bills, increase in workman's compensation insurance. So there's a lot of reasons that we don't want to have a poor work surface on our floors. So Corian and these other types of tiles that we use in the industry are a good expense and should not be avoided. Garbage. Chef Suzanne, you want to take that one?
Did you really just throw trash at me, Chef?
Like I said at the beginning, man, we're executive chefs, garbage men, but Chef Suzanne has some great perspective on garbage receptacles in the kitchen.
I've never thought of my particular expertise in this area, but I will share my knowledge with you. Yes. When it comes to trash cans, they really need to be throughout your kitchen. It's something that, again, we don't think about. When you're thinking about the layout of your kitchen, you're thinking, I need a stove, I need, a dish machine. Nobody thinks, I need trash cans, but they take up space. And depending on how many you have and how large they are, they take up a lot. And you want to make sure that you incorporate that. So you may have some trash cans that you buy that may fit underneath some equipment. But in a lot of cases, you're using a great big old 55-gallon. They take up floor space. So if you've got all of your equipment very close together and you haven't kept in mind, oh, I need some trash cans, all of a sudden it's time, you've got your building built, and then all of a sudden your trash cans are all in your walkways and things. So you're looking to want to make sure that you've got trash cans near your hand sinks, near your dish machine, near in server areas, on the line, plenty on the line, prep areas. You almost want to plan more than you could ever possibly need because they're that important. They are, it's crazy. You think one of the most important things in your kitchen is a trash can. Yes. Hand sinks and trash cans. Doesn't get much more important.
Yep. Right on the money. And, that kind of goes back to the footstep things. And if you put a pencil to your paper and figure this out, if we take 6 of you on this screen and all 6 of you have to walk an extra minute to get to the garbage can to throw away your product, and you have to do that 10 times a day, right? That's going to be a total of 10 minutes each, and times 6 people, which is a very realistic number. That's 1 hour per day of extra labor that you're paying for somebody to walk to the trash can. Now, if you want to multiply that times 7, right? And then you do it times 4, and that's 28 hours a month. That's almost paying another employee for 1 week that doesn't exist, right? And so this is how these numbers add up in the restaurant industry. So everything that Chef Suzanne just spoke about with the garbage cans are extremely critical. Abraham, what's going on, man? Abraham, you got a question?
Yes, Chef. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Go ahead.
Just going back to what you were saying a few minutes ago about floor surfaces.
Uh-huh.
In the restaurant I used to work in, there was a policy where all the cooks and chefs had to wear non-slip shoes so that they wouldn't slip. Absolutely. Water or grease.
Absolutely. I agree with that 110%. That's a fantastic point.
I think that's actually an OSHA
requirement.
I could be wrong, but I actually think it's a requirement from OSHA in kitchens.
And it's also a requirement that is imposed by many insurance carriers who carry the workman's compensation insurance. You'll get into that down the road a little bit, but workman's compensation insurance will impose certain restrictions, as far as your employees and making sure they do wear the grease slip-proof shoes that are very important. Shoes are a critical issue in the kitchen. Critical, because you're on those dogs 10 to 12 hours a day, and you want to make sure they're feeling good the whole time. And so we all wear special shoes, but we'll get into that a little bit later. Moving on, let's take a look at a great example of the back of the house assignment. Before we do, week 1, you did a slide of your station setup, right? And you listed menu items in there, where they would be cooked and how they would be cooked and what was required to cook them. Chef Suzanne, when she is taking a look at your assignments this week, hopefully by Saturday, because you've turned them all in by Saturday, she'll be able to figure out where you're going to be cooking those items in your back of the house diagram. So for example, if one of your dishes, we'll say, is fried chicken, and you listed a fryer required, and then in your back of the house diagram, you don't have a deep fryer, she might question as to what exactly is going on. So moving over to our other screen over here. This is a great example of a kitchen here. And just starting with the entrance and the exit for the service staff, extremely critical that they can easily access the kitchen. They have a hand sink right here, which Chef Suzanne lightly touched upon, but hand sinks are required in each one of the areas of your kitchen. Your areas being a dish area, a prep area, one located near the line area, and then one located near the entrance to the kitchen, which allows service staff to properly wash and sanitize their hands. But this particular diagram, they've moved around the walls and they've created a nice storage space here. And then they have a nice walk-in cooler. And then they have all of their equipment. This would be their prep area back here, and also their hotline, which is nicely located. These doors signify reach-in coolers down below, which will show you how to put all that in here in just a few minutes. And then they have easy access to the dish area over here, so the servers can come in, drop off, and get right out at the same time. So the look of this whole thing is what we're going to be shooting for this week. This is the actual example that is located on your class page. So just going back and touching on that, a couple of key things that you're going to want to design into your restaurant facility. Obviously, make sure you have, or your kitchen facility, make sure that you have a entrance and an exit for the service staff and another entrance for your deliveries. Highly recommended. Make sure that you have your dish area. In the dish area, you should have triple sinks, right, where we can wash, rinse, sanitize heavy pots and pans. And then if your facility requires it, an actual dish machine to wash your plates, flatware, glassware. And then you should also have an expo area that we showed to you in week 1, where the cooks will put the food up into the window, and then the servers will take the food out into the dining room. You should have your hotline where your cooks are going to be preparing all the food. That's where you'll have your grill, your saute burners, your lowboy reach-in refrigerators, which I'll show you in a minute, your deep fryers, salamanders, like Sparkling Chef was talking about. You should also have a pantry station or a garde-manger station. This is where you're going to prepare your cold foods, your cold appetizers, and most of your desserts. And then a lot of you will have a prep or production area, which is traditionally located behind the hotline, where you'll receive your deliveries in that area, but you'll also be prepping your foods, such as braised short ribs, etc., etc. Make sure that you do have a storage area. Chef Suzanne will zero in on that real quick. Proper storage and proper refrigeration is a big issue that we take a look for. You don't have to have a 50 or the 2,000 square foot walk-in cooler. It should be able to accommodate the size of your concept, make it realistic. Hand sinks we talked about, and then the service area, like I mentioned a few moments ago, make sure you have your ice machine, place for the servers to properly wash their hands, and all that good stuff. Let's take a look at our actual facility layout tool here this week. I have to trade slides here quickly. Did I miss anything, Chef Suzanne?
You have not. Whenever you are finished with the layout tool, I'm actually wanting to kind of go line by line through the rubric a little bit and just kind of talk about things for sure that I'll be looking at when you're done.
Let's do it.
Ready? You want to do it now, or you want to do your layout first?
We'll talk about the layout. This way everybody understands the assignment. And then I think if you give them the rubric, they're going to all be very
prepared. Yeah.
Ready to roll. They'll have their mise en place in place, right? Like we like. Let's take a look at our slides for this week. I got to make sure I give everybody the right slides, and I do have the right thing. Can everybody see this screen? Yep. Okay. So for your directions, you're going to be taking a look at this slide. This is on slide 2, and I'm sure of that. It's there, and we're on week 4. So you're repeating the week 3 process, but for the back of the house. So everything we showed you about how to move the walls, how to drag and drop the equipment, All of that stuff will be utilized once again this week. So you're going to scroll down. I think this is slide 3 or 4. You'll see it when you pull up your slides. We have 3 acceptable back of the house diagrams that you can use. This is the first one. This would be more for a little bit of a finer dining or a casual restaurant where you're going to be doing a fair amount of prep work, that type of thing. And then the next slide will be for a small bakery cafe. I know Dan Peck over there was talking about a smaller type facility for his first restaurant. So maybe this would be applicable because it's a little bit of a smaller space. And then we will be working with the food truck kitchen as well if you are into the food truck scene. So let me exit full screen here. So those are going to be slides 3, 4, and 6 are the acceptable slides to be working with this week. And then once again, just to give everybody a quick reminder, if you want to move a wall, right, or resize the wall, you can simply right-click on the wall, which will illuminate the wall. There'll be 2 dots, one on the bottom, one on the top. But then you can just left-click and drag it to wherever you want. So you right-click. Once you right-click, then you can left-click and just drag it wherever you want. If you want to make the line smaller or bigger, you can just left-click on top of the blue dot, and you can shrink that wall, right? You know, you could rotate the wall any which way you want to go. It's really limited to your imagination as to what you can do with the walls. Same thing with the doors. Just left click on them, pull them, place them wherever you want. You might have to rotate them by clicking on that blue dot right there and just pulling it around, right? This slide, just play with it a little bit. Don't forget that there are the undo tabs up here in the left-hand corner. So if you did do something that you think was a mistake, you can certainly just click on this one and it'll undo your last couple of moves. So does everybody understand that as far as moving walls around and stuff? So then we're going to scroll over to the right. You can ignore these numbers right now. We'll be using those in the future here. But over here, you have a whole selection of different equipment that you're going to be working with this week. Char broilers, and then we have grills. Char broilers are often what we refer to as upright broilers. So they have a drawer that you can slide the steak in. They'll sear it. You know, a lot of steakhouses use that. But then traditional grill, you have a lot more creative expression with it, so to speak. So all you do is you left click on it, and then you can drag it and drop it wherever you want it to be. If you want to have multiple grills in your restaurant, all you have to do is right click, hit copy, and then left click, and then right click and hit paste. Now you have another grill. So those grills will reproduce all day long. And then you have your coolers and your reach-ins right here. A lot of these coolers and reach-ins in the restaurant industry will be underneath our equipment. We call them low boys. So for example, we'll have a char grill, and then underneath it will be the refrigeration that has drawers. We pull the drawers open, and we grab our New York strip steaks or our duck breast, whatever, and pull it out and put it up on top of the grill. But these coolers and reach-ins are traditionally what we keep on the hotline, and that's where we'll keep all of our prepped foods that are ready for execution for cooking. Ranges here, you have various sizes. You have an 8-burner, 6-burner, and a 4-burner. Once again, just drag them, and if you want multiple, just copy and click and paste, and you can have as many as you need, right? Microwave oven, in the restaurant industry, we refer to the microwave oven as Chef Mike. So if a customer ever comes back and says, "Where's my well-done filet for that special customer on table 10?" say Chef Mike is working on it right now, and he'll be done in just a moment. So a griddle, a flat top. Flat top is where we do a lot of searing or a lot of toasted sandwiches such as Reubens. That Chef Suzanne was, oh no, that was a different class, wasn't it, Chef Suzanne? Yeah. And you can do flat tops, eggs, a lot of breakfast foods on the flat top. Fryer, pretty much self-explanatory. Conveyor oven, conveyor ovens would be primarily used for places like pizza restaurants, or if you have timed food such as wings that are blanched, you can run them through there as well. Deck ovens, those are very popular in bakeries. We use a lot of those there. Tilt brazier is for cooking large volume liquids. If you want to do a 20-gallon batch of chili or a 50-gallon batch of stock, that's what you do. Steam tables right here. Steam tables are pretty practical on your hotline because you put certain size pans into those steam tables and it'll keep your food nice and warm for service. Your sauces, sometimes your starches, sometimes other items as well. So that's what those are for. Trash cans, make sure that you take advantage of those. So you're gonna have to reproduce those in your kitchen. Sandwich prep table, that'll go into your pantry. That's where you're gonna prepare a lot of your sandwiches. Your cold items will be on the top right here, and this small work surface right here is for assembly. Prep tables, make sure you have those in your prep area, right? A prep table is where you're going to do your slice, dice, butchering, poultry fabrication, that type of thing. Stand mixer, large mixers for creating a lot of dough. If you're doing a bakery, you're gonna have some of those. Proofing cabinet, that's where we allow our breads to leaven. So if you're doing anything like that. Dishwasher, very important. Dish rack, very important as well. So you're gonna allow your stuff to dry. A window, it is not a window for looking at the birds outside. No, it's a window that your line cooks are going to put the dishes into, and then your servers or expo will pull them out of the window. Walk-in cooler, we know what that is. There's an extra wall for you if you need an extra one. Metro rack, that goes in your storage units. Metro rack shelf, right? You know, how many shelves do you need on that Metro rack? So, that's what that's for. Combi oven, that's an oven that'll steam, retherm, convection or conventional oven, and then a heat lamp. Heat lamps traditionally go on the hot line above the window, or in the window, but at the top, which will radiate heat down to the food to keep it warm while waiting for a server to come pick it up. So that is how we do the diagram in a nutshell. And then I think Chef Suzanne wanted to bring up a rubric.
Well, I wasn't going to bring it up. I was actually going to have you pull up, if you don't mind.
Oh, sure.
The kitchen, the one that was the layout that was already done.
Oh, yeah.
All right, and so first I'm going to get a couple of things that people may ask. If you're doing catering, this should be based on the catering kitchen that your ideal catering facility, a restaurant, your ideal, what you would need for your business. So you're looking at commercial kitchens. Food trucks, same thing. Everything should be about the same as far as the requirements. So we'll have Chef pull up that kitchen real quick. So looking at the rubric, one of the first things it says is your design includes hand sinks in appropriate areas as needed. If you have a giant kitchen and there's only one hand sink, probably not going to be enough. You really should have multiple hand sinks. Now in a food truck, you're probably just going to need one. In a small cafe, maybe just one or two in your kitchen. So you need to make sure you have plenty of sinks throughout. Then waste disposal trash cans. Again, we just talked about that. They should kind of be all over in all of your different areas throughout your kitchen. Dish area is organized and efficient. You don't have to have a dish machine in a restaurant. They're nice, but you must have a 3-compartment sink. If you want to have both, that's great. But you, at the very least, need to have a 3-compartment sink. And the same thing with dish racks and shelving, like Chef was just talking about. So somewhere to dry your dishes. So where are they going to be put? Where are they going to be dry? So you want shelves for that. You also don't want your dish machine like in the middle of your restaurant next to your stove, right? You're going to have like a little area off to the side, kind of like in this example here. Another thing it's looking for in the rubric is production area organized and flow of service is efficient. Like Chef was just saying, you need to have your equipment together. So the assignment isn't requiring you to put in, say, hood vents, but you should still have all your hot equipment together, because hood vents, the are probably one of the most expensive thing in your kitchen, right, Chef? You know, 50,000 maybe, depending on the building, how much you need. They're crazy expensive. So you're not
$1,000 and $2,000 a foot.
That's a lot, y'all. That's a lot. So you're going to want to have all of your hot equipment, like in this picture here. You're going to want to have all of your hot equipment near each other. You're not going to have one area and put your stove on one side, and that means you're going to have a bunch of separate hood vents. You want to keep your hood vents to near each other, and so you're going to want to have all of your hot equipment so they can go underneath your hood vents. The nice linear setup where everything is kind of in a line so that your cooks are all very close to each other, so they just kind of have to rotate around. It's also looking for all the equipment needed to execute your menu. So you want to make sure you have plenty of refrigeration. If all you have is a walk-in, then every time your cooks need a burger, they're going to have to run from one side of your kitchen at the grill all the way to your walk-in, get a burger, and run all the way back. Right? So you want to have some of those low boys, some reach-in coolers and freezers. If your menu or your page 1, where you had to write down all of your equipment, says that you should have deep fryers and ovens, and I look and you don't have any deep fryers or ovens, you obviously don't have enough equipment to execute your menu. So if you say you had to have that equipment, I'm going to be looking for it. Chef also talked about prep areas. Most businesses, even food trucks, are going to have like a small area for prep. So you may have prep areas, and you need to have somewhere to, what did you call it, Chef? The window. Some people may call it a pass-through or a serving area. So you want to make sure, where are your cooks going to set the food? Where are the servers going to pick it up from? Even in food trucks, you're still going to have pass-throughs. So that's the kind of stuff you're looking for. And then, as always, you need to have that concept summary in there. So that is basically what the rubric is, kind of in a nutshell, and the things I'm looking for. Just kind of broken down a little bit so that it kind of hopefully will explain what you're looking for, what I'm looking for when you do it. I hope that makes sense.
That does make sense. And then our rubric, we're hoping everybody can get this turned in by Saturday this week, and that make life a lot better for all of you. This way you have enough time to make corrections, because Chef Suzanne does provide a lot of valuable feedback that, I mean, it can raise your grade, which is fantastic, but in the long run, our primary concern is that you really understand the material, so you can be successful once you venture out into the restaurant world. And Chef Suzanne just talked to you about all the important nuances that are required in this assignment. Design includes hand sinks, very, very important. Waste disposal, trash cans, extremely important. Dish area organized, efficiently located, production areas organized, all equipment required, and then include clear and concise summary of concept like we have for each of our assignments so far in this class. So that is, did I miss anything on that, Chef Suzanne?
No, sir, you got it.
No, sir. Got a couple.
A couple questions.
All right, let's talk to Mr. Bill Me Later. Yes.
Slide that Chef Suzanne just went over. It showed several windows on there. And using nature, but in that particular slide where there's a good another type of window.
Right. They could have food coming up from multiple different areas in the kitchen, which is traditional because food will be coming up from the garde-manger station for the servers, desserts, salads, all that kind of good stuff. And then there'll also be food coming up on the hot line, which will accommodate any type of obvious hot food. Does that make sense, Bill?
Yeah, but we don't have to have those windows.
It depends on what your concept is. I mean, obviously, if you're doing a bakery with deli cases, there's no need for windows. Or if you're doing barbecue, like you're talking about, I know Archie's thinking about doing the barbecue as well, where you might be serving right out of your barbecue things, to the customer. So, and under those circumstances, there's no need for a window. That makes sense.
The dishes. I mean, server bring them in. Yeah, I'm good to go. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. How about Sonia? Sonia.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Good evening. My question was for Chef Suzanne. Are we to post our menu our first assignment again for you, or is it?
Okay, well, this particular course, basically, you should be using the same layout tool every week. So your menu should be there from the very first week. Your assignment. So yeah, I mean, basically, every week you should just be reopening the layout tool and adding to it, and it should save. So I should be able to see everything you did from week 1, which includes your menu and your station map and equipment list, and then your front of house and your mood board, and now this week. So yes, I need to be able to see pretty much all of it. It should all already be there.
Okay, mine isn't. So
then you'll have to attach it. You'll have to get it all together.
Okay, move it over. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. How about Rebecca? Rebecca, what's going on?
Hello.
Hi, Rebecca.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Okay. The kitchen 1050 SQF, that's for the large kitchen, the hood?
Yeah, 1050 SQF stands for 1,050 square feet.
Thank you.
Yes.
So when we put what hood size we're having, like I do for my food truck, am I going to just use the square footage I think it is, or is there actually a hood for trucks?
Almost all hoods are custom designed. I mean, they don't really sell. I mean, you don't go to the hood store and get one off the shelf. They're all custom designed. So as you're working in your food truck, you'll be able to identify an approximate size and approximate length, but it doesn't have to be anything, down to the inch, so to speak.
And did I hear you say it that was 1050 was the square footage?
Correct. However, if we did talk about the fact you can use the food truck, if that's what you're doing, there was a food truck slide in there that we talked about.
Oh boy, I don't remember.
Remember if you open up your facility layout tool,
okay,
it's going to be on slide 6.
Oh yes, I did that part already, but I didn't have the hood on the side, so I'm gonna just.
There isn't actually a hood. There isn't a image of a hood.
Is that
I'm just going to assume that your hood is going to go over your hot equipment.
Yeah, it's a theoretical type thing.
Right.
Right, but do you want us to put what you did because you had kitchen 1050 SQF?
No. That's just a template for you to work with. You can change that template around to your own needs for your facility. So, yeah. So if you're doing a food truck this week, we would expect that you're going to be filling out slide 6. If you're doing a small cafe, that type of thing, we would assume that you're going to be working with slide 5. And if you are doing a casual type restaurant or even a fine dining restaurant, we would assume that you're going to be working with slide 3.
All right, thank you. I was just curious if you wanted us to put our hood info.
Right. It's not slide 5, it's slide 4. So your choices to work with this week are slides 3, 4, and 6.
Well, thankfully, I already got mine done, so.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Are there any other questions? Ladies and gents, thank you for an awesome live session. As usual, if you have any questions, make sure you reach out and you let us know. Thank you very much for getting your assignments in by Saturday this week. It'll really help the flow of things. And have a fantastic day. Take care, everybody.
Chef